In 1849, thousands of men abandoned their homes, their families, and their access to anything resembling fresh vegetables to chase a dream. That dream? Gold? The reality? Scurvy. People imagine the gold rush as this romantic adventure. It wasn't. It was essentially a long, dirty camping trip where everyone got dysentery. But what did these pioneers of poor life choices actually eat while searching for their fortune? The answer is, well, it's depressing, but also kind of fascinating. Mostly depressing. The foundation of every gold miner's diet was what historians call the holy trinity of malnutrition: flour, salt pork, and beans. Not together, not prepared well, just there. Hardtack was essentially a cracker so hard it could deflect a bullet. There are documented cases of miners breaking their teeth on it. They'd soak it in coffee, not to soften it, mind you, just to make it less actively hostile. Hardtack came with a feature no one requested: weevils. Free protein, the miners told themselves while weeping quietly. You learn to eat around the bugs after a while. Or with them. Depends on the day. Salt pork, which was less pork and more salt with pork-adjacent memories, could survive for months without refrigeration. Unfortunately, so could the miners who ate it. When miners did have money, they encountered a new problem: inflation that would make modern economists weep into their spreadsheets. A single egg could cost the equivalent of $50 today. An onion? A week's wages. But when you haven't had vitamin C in 4 months and your gums are bleeding, you'll pay anything. The more successful camps had restaurants, and I'm using that term the way one might use palace to describe a moderately sturdy tent. They served dishes with names like Hangtown Fry, which sounds exciting until you learn it's just eggs and oysters, assuming they had eggs. And oysters. They usually didn't. Canned foods were revolutionary. They gave miners access to fruit, vegetables, and botulism, the holy trinity of the industrial age. Dried fruit became currency. A man could trade an apple for a day's labor. I cannot emphasize enough how few apples were involved in this economy. But when supplies ran low, miners got inventive. They stretched their meager staples by mixing flour with cornmeal or even ground acorns to make dense, heavy bread just to keep from starving. Some resorted to water gravy, browned flour blended with nothing but water, sometimes from the nearest creek, poured over hardtack or beans to make an illusion of a real meal. Hunting and trapping, when successful, meant a rare treat of rabbit, wild game, or fish. But most days, making do was the rule. The monotony, scarcity, and unrelenting prices forced prospectors to rely on any edible resource they could scrape together, even if it was detested by everyone in the camp. There's a recipe from 1850 called Rocky Mountain oysters. They're not oysters. They're from bulls. That's all I'm going to say. Some camps, populated by Chinese immigrants, fared significantly better. They brought vegetables, rice, and the radical concept of seasoning. White miners mocked them for this. White miners also had scurvy. The Chinese miners understood something fundamental. You can't spend gold if you're dead from malnutrition. Revolutionary thinking for 1849. So what did gold rush miners actually eat? Not enough, not well, and not without paying 10 times what it was worth. They dreamed of striking it rich. Instead, they struck beans. So many beans. The gold rush taught us that humans will endure almost anything for wealth, including eating flour paste 3 times a day for 2 years. The next time you complain about your meal, remember, at least it's not hardtack infested with weevils that cost you a week's wages.